All right, it's 7 o'clock, and I'll call this meeting to order. I'll start with roll call. Stacy?
Here.
Travis?
Here.
Mary?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
And Larry?
Here.
Awesome. Mike, was the meeting properly noticed?
The meeting was properly noticed.
And could I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
And let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So the spotlight on learning tonight is Pewaukee High School.
All right, so we're excited to be here this evening. Excuse me. We first want to express some appreciation to the ACMS administration for switching months with us. They were very flexible, and we appreciate them accommodating us. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about one of the components of the graduate profile in sort of the big picture sense, which is care, and the idea around personal wellness and fitness. And our PE department has for a long time been really focused on individualizing the physical education experience. We no longer just, all square dance in the gym like some of us remember. There's a lot more innovative work that's to be done. And so Mr. Eberle has been leading the charge around a particular technical solution to helping individualize. He's brought a couple of senior athletes, which, as Larry pointed out, we've seen at a few different events recently, and so we're excited to have them here this evening. And so I'm not going to steal any of the thunder with the details. I'll just turn it over to Adam, and he can tell you a little bit about rep performance.
All right, thanks for having us here tonight. Again, my name is Adam Eberle. I am one of the PE teachers here at the high school. I brought along Carter, Owen, and Drew, and we're going to talk a little bit about rep performance. So the what is, we're introducing our new wellness tracker that we're using here at the high school in health classes and in PE classes. We're going to kind of look over the steps the students are taking to implement this new process and review the importance of wellness for our students. And we're doing this just to ensure that all stakeholders understand this new process of tracking wellness here at the high school. So as we look at this, kind of just talk about what is wellness. Wellness is the holistic approach of health and well-being. It encompasses physical, mental, social, and emotional aspects of our lives. And here at the high school, it's very important for students, just a crucial aspect of their life for academic success and personal growth as they go through their 4 years here at PHS. So wellness is very important to our students here at the high school in these following ways. It helps with academic performance. Students who feel well usually learn well, right? And then we have mental health. The wellness can help students cope with their challenges, navigate social and emotional problems in any situations that may arise while they're here at school or at home or in certain situations. Physical health is also a key component of wellness. With physical activity, students can help reduce stress and improve cognitive function. And then we also get into social integration and resilience, being able to be resilient and kind of jump over any hurdle that you may come across through life. And we're hoping that some of this stuff will help them as they go forward. So as we talk about the graduate profile, we do have a care component in the graduate profile. And according to that, the care is the ability to manage one's health and support the well-being of others. Along with that component, we also have along with that graduate profile, we also have some key components with wellness, empathy, self-awareness, and reflection. And all of these are things that students are going to be using or have been using in this new wellness tracker that we'll show you here in a few seconds. So what is rep performance and how are we using it in PE? So rep performance is a web-based program that allows students to track, record, and compare their wellness data, fitness data, and any other data they've collected over time. The really cool thing about this aspect of this web-based program is this data stays with the students all the way through high school. So if you're a freshman in high school and you're tracking your data now, you'll still have that data, and you can see kind of where you went from freshman year through senior year. Students use this program to track their wellness sliders, which we'll talk about shortly, set and compare goals, and track fitness assessments, and create and log workouts. So tracking fitness assessments is something that every class does, and right now students are creating workouts and logging workouts in personal fitness and weight training classes like that. So the students have a wellness action plan where they kind of choose one area of wellness to focus on based off all the data collected, and you'll see that on the next slide. Students set a specific and achievable goal based on all of that data. They track their progress. They reflect on how they feel. They reflect on what they've collected. And then they adjust their plan as needed and keep moving forward. If they've hit their goal, they can set a new goal based on other data that they've collected. So looking at this is their wellness journey. So students use their wellness tracker or wellness sliders, which you see there at the bottom of the screen. They track mindset, nutrition, sleep, movement. And during this process, the students just kind of, every day they come to class, we ask them to move their wellness sliders, right? Hey, take your time, move your wellness sliders. It takes less than 30 seconds just to try to go through and see how you're doing for the day. Based off of the information collected here, you can see the wellness sliders are on the bottom. And up at the top is kind of the graph that the students see on their website. And you can go up and down, you know, the ups and downs. 10 is at the top, 1 is at the bottom. So as the students collect this data, we ask the students that first month of school, they collected this data, and then we asked them to look at it and just see what's your lowest aspect of your wellness tracker, right? So they look at this, and this student, the lowest, even though there are a lot of high ones in there, the lowest throughout was nutrition. So they looked at nutrition, and they set a goal based on nutrition. So they can go into their website, go to the nutrition goal, set a goal. So on October 4th, the student answered these questions. You know, how would you rate your nutrition today? What's your current relationship with food? What foods do you gravitate towards? So they're able to kind of analyze their nutrition and what they're putting in their body. And then on November 4th, they did another update. They updated their goal. They reflected on the same goal. And then they're doing it again this next week in classes. So we're asking them to kind of review it every month. So that's kind of just the wellness tracker, wellness sliders in a nutshell. The next slide here shows what the old tracker looked like compared to the new tracker. And that's why I brought these guys up here with me, so they can kind of talk about their experience through this whole process from the old wellness tracker to the new wellness tracker. So come on up, guys.
So I've been using Rep Performance the last 3 months, and I've had nothing but good things to say about it. The way that we can just quickly in like 30 seconds flip the sliders to how you're feeling that day and go to the graph and see where, like, all right, maybe nutrition's low that day or my movement is low, and you're able to set a quick goal and you're able to review it pretty simply. For me in cross country, nutrition was a huge one, and I could tell when I'm filling these sliders out if I didn't have enough nutrition that day. It just shows how this new tracker is helping me in not just school but in athletics and pretty much life. The old one, I have to say, we got data, but we never really used that data. I feel like this new one, we were just able to use data and track it better.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of if you look at the old one versus the new one, the old one was just kind of clicking a bullet point almost, and now that we have the new one, it's really like tracking your data, and as an athlete, like if you lift, being able to go back and see what you did for certain reps or anything like that, and then just simple things like nutrition, how you're moving, how you're feeling, like to be able to see that, and then at the end of every month get a graph and see that data and be able to reflect on that. It's been a very powerful thing.
And then another big difference I think between the two is the way we did the old trackers, that we did it homeroom. So we did it every other Thursday, and you were supposed to try to do it every day in between, but with a lot of high schoolers, they don't remember and it gets pretty difficult. And by doing it in gym class, we're able to do it every other day, so we have a lot of data points and we're able to kind of analyze the way we've been exercising effectively.
Thanks, guys. So with that being said, thank you for your time.
Okay, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So he mentioned that they're doing it in their gym class, so if they don't have a Phy Ed class that semester, they're not doing it, students aren't doing it?
Yeah, correct. So
And
unless
then-
they have health at the 10th grade level, they could
Okay.
do it at that time as well.
Okay. Is there any thought of trying to get everybody to do it, or is it just too hard to manage or push out?
I think right now is just working with Adriana. We kind of put it just in the PE classes, thinking that every student would have like 1.5, really 2 semesters of it, or 2 years of it with health class. So and then hopefully they still have access to this program if we continue to use it, that they can use it on their own
Okay.
as well. So we're just trying to set them up with the foundation and then move forward, with be able to track it on their own.
Okay, great.
I was going to say this new tracker seems much more intuitive because of that. Do you see that there's greater compliance with wellness tracking? And also, do students that aren't athletes, maybe not doing weightlifting and all that, Do you see them using it as well, that they see value in it?
Yeah, I don't see too many complaints in it. I mean, it goes really quick in class. We do touch base with all students, not just athletes. These guys are just, I know Owen had helped me last year. He was in one of the PE classes where we piloted it to start, and then we implemented it this year with all the classes. But yeah, it's just really quick for the students. It's easy for us too, like, as they come in the gym, we'll say, hey, check your wellness sliders, show us. You know, we have them come up, the 3 PE teachers, and we kind of talk to them too, like, hey, we noticed this might be low or that might be low. How are things going? So it's a good conversational piece too among the students. So I haven't seen any complaints, and everybody so far has been using it because we track it on our end as well.
So, I mean, if I understand correctly, so they have to do something to enter the data, or?
Yeah, they can open up their phone or open up their computers. At the end of class, we have about 10 minutes after changing, or when they change and come back into the gym, and they come in the gym door, and we just say, hey, check your wellness sliders or track your wellness, and the kids will open up their phone. It is a web-based app, so it's not an app, but they can save it to their home screen. They just open it up and move the sliders over. It takes less than 30 seconds to do it. And we kind of, if you have PE first hour, we ask them to maybe prorate your stuff. If you know that you have stuff going on after school, if you're, in cross country or whatever, you're like, hey, I'm going to be, my movement's going to be a 10 today. If you didn't eat breakfast, we ask them to, rate your nutrition right now, and they can change it all the way through the day, and it resets at midnight. So the next day, everything's back at 0. So it's not always the same. So when I look at it, and I look at their calendar, so to say, I'm trying to look to see if they're doing it every day they have class. Sometimes I might see maybe they skipped a week, so I'll ask them to make sure they're, add a couple more data points that week.
So given that these are two of our outstanding baseball player, athlete kinds of things, and they were both on the football team too, does it help you in any way, shape, or form to use the tool as you were, doing football practices in the weight room or doing things to prepare for baseball season, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think especially in a sport like football where very physical demanding kind of thing, you look at what the sliders are, it's just kind of simple. Like, what's your nutrition? How are you eating? Your movement, like, how are you feeling as an athlete? How did you sleep the night before? And when you kind of go back to basic things like that, it's actually big picture, and when you focus on things like that, you'll be able to feel better, and you'll actually see results through kind of the 1 month data you get.
Yeah, and I think another thing that plays a big part too is when it gives you the graph, you can kind of notice trends. So a lot of the time you'll notice that if your nutrition or your sleep's down, a lot of times your mindset will be down with that day. And kind of just being able to notice those things and adjust is huge for anything.
Carter, did you want to add anything as a cross-country track athlete, as well?
Sorry about that, yeah.
Yeah, so with the nutrition goal I have set, I can tell some of my races when I don't eat enough that day, I definitely can see a change in my race. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I need to eat something to get better or get faster, I guess, for cross country. That's how I know, during that day. So.
Is this something that they can continue to use going forward, or is it just a school app at this point?
As of right now, it's for school. I think once they're seniors or once they graduate, they'll be removed from that program because we're just the way that it's paid for. I think it's just based on students. So right now we haven't explored anything beyond high school. Right now it's just in high school.
But do you guys have any recommendations for a post-high school tracker or not?
I don't, but that's something that we can look into for these students.
Great, yeah.
It's a great idea.
I think the value is really the aspect of that reflection and paying attention to it. One of the things we originally did with the wellness tracker was just trying to raise, just trying to raise awareness about where are you? Take a second, look at where you're at with your sleep, look where you're at with, your eating, your screen time. We had a few more diverse things in the original wellness tracker. And so tying it to their PE experience and not just simply learning how to play basketball, learning how to play, swing a golf club, whatever it may be in PE class, but really looking at the whole circle of wellness and fitness is something that we think is a lifelong skill. So the app is just one tool. I use Garmin as one that, where I track my activities and the things that I do. I know other people use Google Fit, they use Apple products. So there's a ton out there. It's really the value of that reflection and paying attention to your own data that we're hoping the kids walk away with.
Any other questions?
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming in.
Have a good night.
All right, up next is Natalie and Anna. Take it away.
Alrighty, so we're back with you for another report. It's already December. We can't believe it. It's going by so quick, but we just have a few highlights for you. So we'll get into that. All right, first, well, the athletes are walking away right now, but we had a lot of 10 senior athletes sign for post-high school, collegiate athletes. I'm just going to read their names, give them a little shout out. We had Riley Cullen, who is going to Luther College for bowling. I was very impressed. Because Pewaukee doesn't have an individual bowling team, I wasn't super aware of how super awesome she is at the sport. So it was really awesome to see her recognized and see her moving on to bigger and better things. Kennedy Rutherford is committing to Truman State for basketball. Ella Opie is committing to UW La Crosse for soccer. Anna and Amy Tarian are both going to Michigan State for basketball. Luka Momcilovic is going to St. Thomas for basketball. Carson Osterman is going to UW Superior for basketball. Drew and Owen Doberson are both going to Evangel University for baseball. And then Grace and Zach is committed to University of Minnesota Twin Cities for baseball. So amazing athletes. It's really cool to see. There was so many community members at the event. I was there able to cheer on some of my friends who were signing. So it was just really great to see them all come out and the community support, and we're just wishing them the best with their collegiate athletes.
All right, for discussion topic 2, we have the Spanish 4 students. So for Spanish 4 students, specifically in Mrs. Varela's class, are helping out with the Pulsera project. So following Thanksgiving break, the Spanish 4 students have been selling items for the Pulsera project. This is a service project, and it's through a fair trade nonprofit organization. They're selling bracelets and purses, and they're made by artisans in Guatemala and Nicaragua. They're sold during lunch periods from December 3rd to December 13th. And the money assists in providing support to secondary education, scholarship, housing programs, healthcare, women and youth leadership, environmental projects, job opportunities, and disability rights. And this is a really great way for the students to get involved in real-world problems and kind of contribute and kind of learn about things happening in different areas of the world.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, I actually bought a Pulsera, and it's really awesome. It comes with, a little tag from the artisan that made it and has their, actual signature. And it's really amazing just to see the work that these people are doing. And I think today there was an update in the announcements. The students have sold, 118 bracelets so far, and it just started, basically. But that contributes to much more than you would think. Each bracelet goes for $5, but the transfer of how that profit works towards communities in Central America is just amazing. So it's a great thing, and I encourage you all, if you're interested in purchasing anything, reaching out to Abby Varela with questions, or because you can do Apple Pay. I literally just paid with my phone during lunch, so it was really easy and really awesome to support.
So for the third discussion topic, we have the Operation Christmas Child Boxes. So this was started by senior McKenna Chapman and junior Samantha Caravan, and they're decorated Christmas boxes that were set up at school entrances. I believe there were 4 different ones, and those were through November 11th. The QR codes on the boxes actually provided students and staff with lists of what students and what to go shopping for and what to look for. And then these were then provided to children across the world as Christmas gifts. And results just came in, and the teachers won. It was a little competition going on to see who could give the most gifts. But yeah, and then we have a quote from McKenna Chapman.
Yeah, I'm not going to read this whole thing. She was so gracious in giving me a little spiel about why she wanted to do Operation Christmas Child. But I think the big takeaway here is just kind of with the wellness tracker, honestly, is just getting that awareness of not everyone is as fortunate as we are. So just providing those, even just small gifts to children make a really big difference in their lives. So she just really wanted to emphasize how our community support can really change lives and make a difference.
And then for athletics and activities, for the drama crew, they had their Noises Off production that took place November 21st to 24th. And there was a total of 6 performances. And then they're getting ready for the production of Mamma Mia. They just had their casting take place. Their auditions were last week. They had the singing round and then the dance round, and yeah, and I believe that they released the cast list on Friday. So, and they had their first rehearsal today, which is very exciting. But then for academic decathlon, they're competing January 9th and 10th at state. And then for Hope Squad update, the PLE collaboration presentations in February, and then the resource and information tables potentially at a basketball game. And then for girls basketball, top D2 state team in the state. And if you want to add on a little bit.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to update, but they are still undefeated. Victories over Notre Dame, Hortonville, Brown Deer. They're playing this week as well. Boys basketball played their first game last Friday, at Brown Deer. They did an awesome job. They came out with the win. And then this week, like I said, both teams are playing. The boys are playing at home tomorrow, and then on Friday again as well. And then the National Honor Society also had their induction ceremony last Thursday, which was put on. Just wanted to do a little shout out to Mrs. Varela, Mrs. Olson, who put a ton of work into this ceremony. They took over National Honor Society as the advisors just this year. They were kind of just thrown in a little bit, so they did an awesome job putting that together. And I'll have Anna, do you want to touch on it? Anna was inducted into NHS this year, so congrats to her. But you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it was a really good ceremony. It was fun to see all my peers get inducted alongside of me, and it was a really great experience.
And then, is that yours on the bottom? Touch on
And
that?
then for FCCLA, they've been selling personalized holiday ornaments for a fundraiser for their club. So if you're looking at that, I believe there's a QR code, and there's also a link to the form.
Can you remind us what FCCLA is?
So FCCLA, it's like a club. There's like different sectors in it, and they go different places. I have a friend who's in it, and they recently did like a cooking thing, recently creating a cuisine, so.
It's like, yeah, kind of adding on to Anna, it's like a family consumer science club that's like FBLA, if you've ever heard that. It's Future Business Leaders of America. I'm not sure what FCCLA stands for exactly.
It's the Family, Career, and Community Leaders.
Okay, so kind of close, combining FBLA and family consumer science. But like Anna said, they do competitions in cooking, fashion, a ton of super cool topics. Yeah. Like you said, it's super cool. They go places and compete, so really awesome. For salutes and recognitions, we just wanted to shout out McKenna and Samantha for their hard work with bringing Operation Christmas Child to the high school. That was not through anything specific, I don't believe, so really awesome of them to bring that to the school. Yeah, and then I wanted to shout out Pewaukee High School and like the district as a whole and everyone that contributes to putting on basketball tournaments for our youth program. Super awesome. I was volunteering this weekend, just a big production, lots of undertakings, so all the community members that are there helping out with that is awesome. Obviously, all our future collegiate athletes who are committed, these are probably, I don't want to speak too soon, but Dr. Katie's son has committed for wrestling, so super awesome. Just so many other athletes probably will be committing as well, so just a shout out to them. And then a personal shout out for all the Pewaukee School District staff and community members for their help during the snowy morning we had a couple weeks ago. It was quite the experience.
Did you have some trouble, Natalie?
Well, I was on the hill for about like an hour, but two of my friends were both in front of me and they had to be towed up by this, I don't remember his name exactly, but this man in this white truck just came down heroically and just started wenching people, and it was quite the production. So just very thankful for everyone that was there helping, the police department as well for being there and supporting us for all the student drivers out there and staff. Thank you for that. And then I quickly added in Amy Tarian making history again with her, she broke the record for female basketball scoring with 1,496 points this past Friday. So big shout out to her, super awesome. But yeah, lots of great things happening this month and next month for sure. And with that, we'll take any questions or comments.
Excellent report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done.
Heading into salute and recognitions, I want to echo what you gals said about Amy Terrian. A shout out to her for 1,493 career points.
Oh.
What an amazing athlete. But really, I just want to give a shout out to all of our athletes because if you go to any of the games, and I think if you watch our students, their behavior and their sportsmanship, I think it's really a sense of pride here at Pewaukee, all of our athletes, how they conduct themselves, but shout out to Amy especially. Anyone else?
Can I tag on to that one?
Yeah.
I happened to be here at the game, and actually they stopped the game at that point in time when she made the shot that broke the record, if you will. But in the audience or the crowd, and actually understand she's also now maybe helping out with the girls basketball team, was Abby Garrett's, who's the one she broke the record. So Abby was there with her, and there was just recently on I think it's a Facebook page for the school, where it had a picture of Abby and Amy at a very young age, 2016, and now in 2024. So it was just a nice connection, and when you think about how impactful sometimes some of our students are on younger students, and I think Amy said something to the effect that Abby Garrett's was her hero growing up as a young student here in Pewaukee. So lots of things with our youth basketball programs, connecting into our varsity programs and JV teams.
Anyone else?
I have a few. So, as you are aware, we are piloting 2 new literacy resources, 5K through, well, really 3rd grade, to be in compliance with the Act 20 literacy law. We really have some staff members that have, I think, gone above and beyond in their work to make sure that that has gone smoothly. So I'd like to recognize Nicole Vollings and Jen Simon in 5K, Colleen Moncada, and Jenny Toth, and Erica Falk in 1st grade, Emily Cording, Trish Zahn, and Erin Hyman in 2nd grade, and then our literacy instructional coach at PLE, Carrie Rodolfi. Like I said, those individuals have really gone above and beyond to make sure that they're providing excellent experiences for our students.
Awesome.
I don't have anything tonight.
Anything else? Okay. And I don't want to be remiss. Tammy, I just want to make sure we have no citizen comments at this time.
We have no citizen comments.
All right, thank you. Next, consent agenda, meeting minutes from previous meetings, correspondence, but also I just have to point out a very generous donation of $43,830 was received from the Pewaukee Parent Teacher, or PTO, and it went to Pewaukee Lake Horizon and Asa Clark. What a generous gift. As Mike said, they're very talented at raising money, but they just do a wonderful job, along with our constituents and community that give their money towards PTO. So huge shout out and thank you for that wonderful gift. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions from anyone? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on.
Abstain.
Business affairs, Stacy.
All right, we had a good meeting. We started out with the report from the independent auditors. Paul, the partner, Paul France was here, and they gave, it's called an unqualified opinion. It's a clean opinion, and just had very strong compliments for John and his staff and how the audit went. He walked us through the report, and we were able to see the work that was put into it. So that was all good. When we went over the financials, we still are at about 6% of revenues collected, which is about 2.4 million. So we're getting to that time of year where cash will be getting a little bit tight to make payroll. John's thinking we might need to make a small draw for our December 30th payroll, but he's hoping to get the payout early for the property taxes that will enable us to make our January 15th payroll without drawing any more money into our line of credit. So that is all really good news for us. We are minimizing our interest expenses and taking out as little money as possible. We are
expenses are sitting at about 32% of the budgeted expenses in the general fund, which is about 9.8 million. He gave us a bit of an update on the construction project. The bids are back on the roofing projects. They're in the process of going through that, and their bids are out on the air handling units, and they're going to be looking at those soon. So far, they've spent about $860,000 on the project to date. Does anybody have any questions?
Just a quick question on the audit report. So was this the final or okay. So probably a big shout out to John and also Megan, right? This was her first round in terms of doing an audit. So obviously great job, by the way, in terms of doing that. So add her to the shout out list.
Oh, sorry. We also went through the budget and staffing calendar, just to lay out the activities that we will be doing in the next year, as far as when we do the budgeting and staffing projections.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to accept the business affairs report as presented.
Second.
Any additional questions from anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oppose.
Next, we move on to new business. Tonight, we have Allison Gernhardt and Chris Kent.
And
Or
I think,
maybe just Chris.
I think we have Chris tonight.
Just
Yep.
Chris.
So Chris is here to answer questions. And you have, I know you have a presentation and some supporting documents in your materials. So for the proposal to go to Quebec City for the immersion program. So Chris, you want to give us a little overview of the trip, and we'll go from there.
Certainly, sure. First of all, thank you for having me this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to present before you. For those who don't know me, I am Christopher Kent, the French teacher here, along with Allison Gernhardt at PHS. So we are proposing something a little bit new. It is a trip to Canada, spring break of 2026. And really, we like this opportunity as we look at what this does in terms of immersive opportunities and learning opportunities. Where this is a little bit different from France, we think of, well, why not France is kind of the big question you might have. But we look at the graduate profile and some of those things we're really striving for here. And this opportunity presents the uniqueness of having a homestay. And when she and I talk about what are some of those great linguistic skills, those future-ready skills, things that really prepare you to be ready, it's those opportunities to be relevant, really immersing yourself in language that can really help your language skills grow in ways that we just haven't been able to find on the French or the France side of things. So we think that's one really great bonus about this opportunity in Quebec. There's also a great learning opportunity, so there's classes, right? This is not just a purely a trip where it's just purely visiting and sightseeing, and all those things are great and will also be part of this too, because that's the fun stuff. But we have some really neat classes that are part of this trip. Some historical ties that come as well with the Huron and some of the Native American histories that come along with Quebec and those connections there. And we look at a cost standpoint as well, and this we look at about $2,800 per student, which is a lot lower than what you would be paying to do the same type of trip in France. It comes over spring break, so there wouldn't be any time missed for students, but it allows for really relevant and real experience at the same time that coincides with our 2026 school year. Really targeting this towards year 3 students, French 3 and 4 students, because they'll be at that fluency level in which that homestay opportunity would be really advantageous for them at that point.
How long will the homestay portion be?
A couple of days, 2 days.
2 days.
And now that noted, there would be opportunities to intermingle with families as well, right? So the whole time you're there, there's opportunities to interact and be immersed with French families and other students as well.
Do we know the name of the agency you're working with, or?
Yes, it's a new one for me, not for Ali. Prometeur.
John, have you vetted them?
Well, we used them on their slides in 2020 for a trip to France when Ali has used them before, and presumably had a good experience.
Very good.
Is there a limit? How many students can you take?
The ideal number is about 10 to 15. Now, that noted, that we are not limited to that number, but kind of projecting on what we might expect, and certainly Allie's history of doing this a bit longer than I, kind of thought that might be the ideal range. But it's also a good number of students for, we do the housing stays in pairs, so the students aren't alone, you're with another student, so 2 students would stay with that family, so about 15. And when we look at the tour company that arranges this, that was their recommendation as well. If we wanted to go up though, and there was more interest in that, there's options to do that as well. It would require a further conversation, but we think that about 15 students would be the appropriate range.
I really do like the idea that they're staying with host families. As you say, it's the whole immersion of living with these families, the culture, the language, you know. So I think that really adds a lot of value to this, even though you're not going on the other side of the world. But it's cost savings, and I think it's very relevant, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, when I was a young man, I was 16, I did a stay abroad myself in France, but we back then had an opportunity to stay with a family. I learned more French in 4 days than I had learned in my time. It's because you're really forced to be in that immersive environment. The English opt-out just isn't there in the same way, and it's just remarkable how quickly you can really grow your linguistic skills in a short amount of time. So I'm excited about it as well.
Move to approve the field trip request for student travel to Quebec, Canada in the spring of 2026 as presented.
Second.
Any additional questions from anyone? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
All right,
right.
thanks.
Thank you for your time. Good night,
so
Chris.
much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Next, we move to long-range facility planning and capital projects, and we have John Stangler, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, here to go through that for us.
I think John's gonna
Sure.
start it.
I'd like to kick this one off for John as we start talking about the capacity, or building the understanding of the budget and how that operates in the district. Now, we've had a couple of very successful community approved referendas in the last 4 years, and when we look at this plan, like 6 years, when we look at this plan, you'll see some of the impacts on that. The district is really keeping up with and staying ahead of those life cycle replacements and the need to perform capital maintenance on their projects as we go. So as you start looking at the plans here and looking at some of those projects that are identified, you'll see that jump right off of the page. Most of the big ticket things are scheduled or planned, so we have plans in place to be able to address those large items, those roof replacements, those mechanical system replacements, always trying to anticipate and stay ahead of what the costs are that we're gonna see in the future. This plan is not designed to be a sequential roadmap of how things are going to happen. You'll see some items on here in yellow. Those are new things, things that we didn't have on the plan a year ago, but have raised their priority, either by just the need to replace things, or programmatically, they become obsolete in their current form, so we need to address them through a facilities planning process. And just to give a little long-term context on this, the district has always planned in short-term and long-term capital improvement cycles. Back in about 2015, 14, these were combined to combine the long-range capital, the long-term capital projects plan, which was those big things that might drive us to a referendum, need to add on to buildings, and the small things, which were staying on top of roof replacements, staying on top of life cycle replacements, combined it into a single plan. So we had a single document. That same time, we created 2 funding mechanisms. One in 2008 was our Capital Improvement Projects Fund, Fund 41. And in 2013, the long-term capital projects plan, Projects Fund, Fund 46. We carry about $1 million balance in Fund 46 now for those emergency needs that come down the road. Fund 41 still carries just about $100,000 balance in it, which also is available for those emergency projects, so they don't put a strain on the operating budget if something comes up during the year, but also gives us the opportunity to plan into how those dollars are spent the long term. So with that, I'll turn it over to John, the architect.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. Just to add on what John was talking about, so in the criteria in the column, you'll see S is for safety and security, L, life cycle and operations, A is for aesthetics, P is for program delivery, E is for efficiency and also energy. And then also you'll see in the, they're color coded in the criteria. So if it's green in the criteria, it means it's most likely to happen within 1 to 3 years, blue 4 to 6 years, and purple 7 to 10 years. And as John was saying, there's some items that, hey, might move up or down the list based upon the life cycle predicted, and then also, hey, other things that come up throughout time as we go. So I will kind of click through. Down, okay, sounds good. All right, so I mentioned the criteria. John talked about the funding, and then I'll kind of jump into each of the buildings. So as far as the high school goes, you'll see in the project description, some of those items are fully green, which means they are incorporated into the referendum project right now. And as John was saying, also some of those yellow items have been added to the plan, and then they just get whited out to the following year as part of the plan. We've been able to make some great improvements to all of our buildings recently, and then obviously with the referendum, there's going to be a large chunk that's going to be spent on the high school here regarding the STEAM innovation area. And as Stacy has mentioned before, air units 1 and 2, and the VAVs for those 2 units, which actually control a big portion of this whole front of the high school. Those bids are out, they're back, looking good right now, as they're getting scoped out right now. And then there's some of those other efficiency items, like, all right, the multi-stack was added on there, only just because we're seeing some inefficiency out of the system itself. It was a great technology and a great system that we've been able to utilize since 2008. So those are 17 years old. However, they prevented the school district from utilizing or consuming 1.2 million therms of natural gas. So, and again, you've seen the energy graphic that Mike's pulled out where, hey, we've increased our square footage by 26%, but we reduced our consumption by 22% over that same 15-year span. So it's a great story to tell, but say we're getting about 66% efficiency out of our multi-stacks right now, which utilizes off-peak electricity to heat our buildings. There's a boiler venting piping that collapsed that just has to get repaired, so that was added on there. Also, we had a water softener replacement that's starting to fail. It's kind of like your house where, all right, the stove or the refrigerator kind of, like it's running just fine, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's not on anymore, the light's off, or something's not working, or hey, it doesn't preheat like it used to. So there's those types of things that happen with building components as well, where hey, they get to be a little bit unexpected at times, but they need to happen in order to function and operate the entire building. As far as a lot of the other items, like say our auditorium's 13 years old. Auditorium's been great, but it's already 13 years old. So there's some of those components on there where, all right, they're getting to the point where if they were to fail, some of those parts are becoming obsolete. So we got to look at replacing. I know it's just an auditorium today. We've got 6 lights out in the house. So it's like, all right, we got to start either replacing a few and or looking at a full group replacement here in the near future, just because again, they're coming up on their life cycle. And that was a great LED light that we have in the house of the auditorium. But again, they're just getting at their life cycle, and they're going to fail eventually. It's just a matter of how quickly. Some of the other items, like the bleachers and some of the other athletic items, like say some of the scoreboards, they are new to when the building was built. So like say the same thing you'll see at Asa Clark, where all right, again, it was a 1992 building. Scoreboard is still vintage 1992. The auxiliary gym is still vintage of when we added the auxiliary gym on. So some of those components they're getting towards the end of their life cycle. We got to look at replacing them in the near future. And I think that's about it for the high school. Any questions on the high school as I go? Okay. Outside the middle school, and I'll also open up for questions at the end. Solar, we got some great opportunities with some grants that are available with Focus, and then also the Inflation Reduction Act. So there's gonna be some great opportunity. We're looking at adding that in the summer of '26. We also have, some of the other miscellaneous items in the building that, hey, We just need to look at replacing or just making more efficient. Same thing, just trying to be as flexible as we can with some of those outdoor spaces. I know the softball turf field has been a great item for the middle school to use. Also FIAD and also multiple other sports. So, again, just trying to make use of our existing space the best we can, as most of our exterior spaces are multi-purpose and not just used for one sport. So for the middle school, Horizon, obviously getting a large section of roof replaced. So say at Horizon, there's 53,000 square feet of roofing that will be replaced. It's the all ballasted roof from 2001. So that'll be replaced this summer. Those bids are in, and we're getting close to finalizing that and letting the vendors get the material, because there's going to be an increase in material costs after the first of the year. So a lot of those vendors are going to be able to procure that equipment and also material before the first of the year, so we can still get good pricing on that. The crazy thing, what we see happening industry-wide is, the bidding cycle has continually just been moving up. Like, all right, 10 years ago, we could bid something out in March and still get it completed over the summer. All right, back in 2020, all right, we saw some crazy lead times on certain items. And then, all right, as we get to now, all right, if we want to get first on the docket for the install, the timeline we want, the time frame we want, and also get and secure good numbers, we've got to bid out in the fall already. So we already bid out the roofing, in late October, early November, just because we knew we had a lot that was going to get completed, and we wanted to get some really good pricing, which we did, and also get our preference on the dates for the re-roof. So it was a great thing to have, and I'm glad we're able to bid that out early. The flooring, obviously that's included with the referendum. That's going to be replaced summer of '26. It's going to be a very fun summer to replace the flooring when we do that there. And then also, like say, the library and a couple of those other spaces. The only areas that really won't have the flooring replaced are the two gyms and the rubber flooring that we have existing. But otherwise, just about the rest of the flooring at Horizon is going to be replaced. Again, just because it's coming up in the life cycle. VCT flooring typically lasts 25 years. Well, we're at year 24. So we're right at that, right at the life cycle of what some of those building components are. And then there's some other programming items, like the Makerspace sink, playground edition. We have a great inclusive and accessible playground at PLE, so we're looking at doing something over at Horizon as well, on the south side of the existing playground, so that's been added on there. And then, there's other components of, the intercom and again, scoreboard replacements and security cameras. So security cameras, some of those are a little older at Horizon, so that's the next one that's kind of due to get some more security camera updates. And there's a couple of little analogs that we have cards that they can read the analog camera, but the analog camera is pretty weak for what you can see from the digital capability nowadays. So they're still functional. It's just a matter of they're going to be due for getting a replacement and updating here in the near future. And then also we have some other doors that are just rotting out. It's just like, say, south side of the gym. The door jambs and the door frames themselves are, we've done what we can to secure it, but they're just starting to rust out over time. So again, it's just some of those regular replacements that need to happen in order to just keep a safe and secure learning environment. And at PLE, we have 73,000 square feet of roofing that's being replaced at PLE, quite the large amount. And then also there's a multiple, programming items with the core reels and just efficiencies that we'd like to create in some of those learning spaces. So those have been added. And then also, there's 3 units at PLE that still are not on our Tritium system that we'd like to get on our our building automation systems for our HVAC controls. Otherwise, just about everything else in the district has been switched over as we've made improvements. So we continue to do that. Otherwise, PLE, we're in good shape there. The roof replacements 1 and 2, they're originally going to be with the other roof replacements, but we're going to be able to get a few more years out of those roofs that are above district office there. So those have just been pushed back a couple years just because we can. And again, through preventive maintenance, some of these life cycles end up being much longer than predicted. So we try to do what we can from a preventive maintenance standpoint. And then just as far as like grounds go, we're looking at reinstalling that softball batting cage. With the new field back there, it ended up having to be relocated, so we're going to be reinstalling that. Some of those items like the message center sign, we're at 13 years already on that. It's just kind of crazy how time flies. Same thing when we look at the turf and the track. So turf and track, we are getting right towards the end of our life cycles. The track, it would just be a structural spray. It's not a full replacement of the track. So that's literally just another coat of the polyurethane that would go on top in order to recolor, and because we got some shadowing that's happening and going through the track right now. And then as far as the turf goes, that was installed in 2013. So right now it's the close to the third oldest turf field in the state. Green Bay, Notre Dame, Whitnall, and us are the oldest turf fields in the state. We've definitely maximized the usage of the turf. Typically, they say 8 to 10 years. Well, we're ready at year 12. So it's kind of crazy how it goes, where it's going to be a knee replacement. We had GMAX testing rating completed on it. We know what the safety aspect of it, and we're still going to get another year out of it, and then we're looking at replacing it in the summer of 26. So summer of 26, we'll be looking at replacing that turf. And that's literally just like, say, the carpet. That's what they say. They say you're taking all the infill out of the turf, replacing the green carpet, they say, and then putting a new carpet in, and then putting new infill in. So that's what that's involved. It's not like a complete tear off. It's just literally just taking the turf product out and switching out with a new one, and or adding a pad underneath it as well. So a lot more of the newer fields are adding a shock pad underneath for the HIC testing. And then we have a couple other items, like say the tennis courts. We got some cracking that's just happening on their regular expansion joints that's built in that just needs to be filled. And then also just kind of adding a couple of those other items on there, like, hey, we might need to look at replacing these or adjusting these in the future. And then there's also sections of, say, asphalt, like the north side of PLE. Some of it, you're getting some spider cracking and some other parts that are failing. And same thing with that district office lot, where we might need to look at redoing that or reconfiguring that to try and add some stalls. So that's something else that's kind of that short list of, hey, we might want to look at doing that in the near future, just from an efficiency standpoint. And then I just had the roofing on there just separate, just because there was such a large and substantial cost associated with it for this year, or this coming year. So that's why I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that, since it's such a large cost. I think that's all I have. What questions do you have?
John, with the replacement of some of those HVAC units and the
Yep.
air handler units, will that help with some of the heating insufficiencies we see in some of our buildings during the cold winter months?
Yes. So there is a good portion of our heating and cooling issues are mostly for this air handling units 1 and 2. These are vintage 1968, and we've replaced the coils, and we've taken care of the linkage and updated the controls, but that only does so much. So the inefficiency of those two large units, those two large air handling units, will be greatly increased, and then yes, we'll find a lot more efficiency, one from an energy standpoint and also from a comfort standpoint, where a lot of our newer systems are variable air volume systems, or VAVs. So we literally can control each of these spaces down to the classroom, where some of these older antique systems are just pushing cold air or pushing hot air in order to find a gap of where they need to meet from a temperature standpoint. So yes, there'll be much better efficiency. And then also based upon what we do with the multi-stack as well, there'll be another substantial increase there, whether we replace the compressors or say update a couple of modulating boilers. So like say same thing at PLE, we replaced 3 boilers, I want to say 6 years ago. And those are like modulating, so they all work in unison and optimize the efficiency, and then also from an energy standpoint. but great question.
Thank you.
So John, I have a couple questions for you.
Yep.
So if I heard correctly, you said Horizon, the flooring would be replaced when?
Summer of '26.
So we got a couple
That's what we're
years.
projecting right now. And again, we're trying to maximize as much summer school as we can with the re-roofing.
Okay.
Because we know there's a good portion of PLE that we're going to start in the beginning of summer. They're going to start in PLE, and then they will not touch Horizon's roof until July 21st. So then they're going to, it's actually two different companies that were awarded the bids. So the other company, they'll probably be vacuuming the rock off the week of 4th of July when there's no summer school going on. But otherwise, they will not be starting on the roofs at Horizon until July 21st in order for us to optimize what we can host for summer school and other activities.
One other strange question. So the Pirate Pass repave, does the school district pay for that totally, or is there a charge back to the residents?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was part of the maintenance agreement with the survey maps with Pirate Pass. The district has a maintenance agreement that was acted on where we take care of the upgrade and the resurfacing of it. The village takes care of all of the maintenance. So the salting, plowing, policing, all of those items.
And that safe routes to school will be incorporated there too soon. So when the path goes down Prospect, we're going to need to extend asphalt to connect that to our campus.
Wait, what? Where are you talking?
So going down Pirate Pass.
Yeah.
So we'll have to connect to the new bike path that'll be added down Prospect in the near future.
Oh.
So that's going to be,
Okay.
it's in the works here. They received the city received a TAP grant to incorporate. They did the study, but then they'll be performing the work. So when they incorporate that, the bike path is going to come down Prospect all the way down to Pirate Pass, and well, we're going to want to connect it to campus and not just leave it as a dead end to the street. So.
Could you talk about the solar panels only being on one building? Is that just that's all we need?
We
or-
have it as the main placeholder just because those are the newest roofs.
Okay.
Say, for instance, there's a portion of the high school that is newer, and like say the new fitness center and multi-purpose room, we've incorporated so we can add some solar to there. But typically you're gonna want to do your newest roofs, so you're not gonna have to take all the panels off
Right.
when you need to replace the roof. So
But
that's
we're
why.
replacing roofs in other buildings, and so that's why I was surprised we
Correct.
didn't see solar panels on some of those.
We're still working through
Okay.
what is the optimal arrangement. Considering our usage and the peak demands that we receive at the high school and middle school, it's probably the most advantageous from a budgetary standpoint to put a majority of them on this meter.
Okay.
We can incorporate some smaller portions on those new roofs at PLE and Horizon, and it's not out of the question. So right now, we just have, we have it in the middle school as a placeholder. But there is a good chance we might still add some panels to the other buildings as well. So I don't want to say no, but the best part is we're replacing roofs this summer, and then, all right, we can look at doing the solar in summer 26. So we'll have some really nice flexibility of like, all right, what is the optimal for that unit over at, Horizon, and same with the thing with PLE. Because if you're trying to feedback, again, we're trying to cut out as much of that peak usage as we can, because that's where we're really getting hammered on our bills is peak demand charges. Any other questions?
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And you can go right into safety drill.
All right. Do you have anything up on your file? We don't need. Okay. Safety drill. This is just the formality of it. So off-school safety back in 2018, they passed Act 143. That requires us as a school district to complete 2 safety drills annually for each building. So each of our buildings' principals submitted those reports. So that 2 safety drills were completed in each of those buildings. And then this is just the formal memo and the recommendation that needs to be board approved in order for me to submit this all to the off-school safety. So I have to report a number of these items. So the school violence drills, the safety plan training, and then also the site assessment. So those are just items that we have to report as a school district to Office of School Safety by end of the calendar year every year, because of Act 143. So yep, go ahead.
Any questions?
I make a motion to accept for purposes of board review at this meeting the written drill evaluation submitted by the principals under section 118.07, paren 4, paren CP of the state statutes from Pewaukee Lake Elementary, Horizon Elementary, Asa Clark Middle School, and Pewaukee High School as listed.
Second.
Any additional questions from anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Next, policies. I won't spend a lot of time on this. There's 4 policies presented tonight for first read. All of you were here for that policy committee meeting when we discussed these policies. It's the media selection policy, high school grading procedures, reporting student achievement, and internet use and use of internet resources. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Ashley isn't here tonight. If you do have additional questions or comments, you can always reach out to her. If there's nothing anyone wants to ask tonight. All right. Moving forward, personnel issues and no resignations, no employments, no leave of absence.
Correct.
Board goals and operations. So, upcoming activities, we have, one board meeting in January, that's on the 13th, starts out with business affairs at 6. Then on Tuesday, the 21st at 6 p.m., we'll be, doing our first learning session of the year regarding student services. There will be dinner.
We will provide dinner.
Provided.
Yep, and we'll be, so IEPs, 504s, mental health, all those pieces will be covered.
Okay, awesome. Then February is a busy month. We start out with our first meeting on February 10th with business affairs at 6. Then the following Monday, on the 17th, we have another learning session. That'll be up here. And that is for us to go through board goal number 5, which is the effectiveness of board and superintendent working relationships. So that will be that evening.
It's also when you review your results from your self-assessment.
Yep. And then followed by our second meeting of February on the 24th, starting out with a policy committee meeting at 6. One thing I do want to bring to everyone's attention, I don't know if anyone has time or interest, but on April 3rd of 2026, the village of Pewaukee will be 150 years old, believe it or not.
25 or 26?
26. Yep, April 3rd of 2026, the village of Pewaukee is going to celebrate its 150 years old. Some of the civic organizations have gotten together and they're kind of looking to form a steering committee that would help work with others to kind of work on some of those activities that they want to do throughout the year of 2026 to celebrate that wonderful anniversary for the village. So on Tuesday, January 7th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at Village Hall, they are having an introductory meeting. And they sent an email out to Mike to ask the school district if we would be interested in being involved. And I'm just throwing out to the board, if anyone's interested in being part of that steering committee, or if nothing else, just going to that meeting and seeing what the time commitment is, the involvement, being part of that. Just let myself or Tammy know. But that is an opportunity.
Yep, and I plan on being in attendance at that meeting.
Okay.
I have something else I can invite you to, kind of a unique event we're going to have. Of course, it's a wrestling match, but we're doing something very unique. It's called the Theater Throwdown. We are going to have a wrestling duel in the auditorium on the stage. So that will be on January 8th. It's our rival, New Berlin United. So if you want to have a unique experience and you just itching to get to a wrestling match, we will be doing something pretty unique there and working to get a lot of students to turn out. I know Natalie's really good at leading student sections. There's going to maybe be some free T-shirts for students as that arrive, but kind of a unique experience. It's about the only sport that you could host an event in the auditorium. So that's something.
Say the 8th and the 9th.
January 8th. January 8th.
What's it called?
We're calling it the Theater Throwdown.
Theater Throwdown.
So it's kind of like a WWF SmackDown kind of?
Yeah, sure. We workshopped lots of names. That was.
Some costumes and theatrics and.
There might be some theatrics.
By you?
No,
No.
not by me. There's the wrestling singlet will be the costume, but there will be some opportunity for maybe some special effects that aren't available in the gym. So I'm sure the guys have some ideas they want to work with James Sevens on. So.
That sounds interesting. Okay,
Brandon,
awesome.
before we go on, a quick question back on the 2026 thing for the city or village of Pewaukee.
Yeah.
So, Mike, is there any connection in terms of within our school? Obviously, Asa Clark is kind of probably one of the founding people of the village of Pewaukee. But any kind of tie-in with any kind of curriculum activities or school activities to?
I emailed
build
Aaron
off of that?
Yuskis.
What's that?
I emailed Aaron Yuskis, and he has some interest in maybe being involved with that. So obviously we got a little time out there, but just to get it on his radar and be thinking, so that would be the natural fit is through our social studies.
I mean, it'd be great if there's some way we could do something with all schools in the district, if you will, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Add it to your list, Anthony.
Well,
See how that delegation happens.
As a former history major, I would be all over that.
Yeah.
Very cool. All
You could
right.
replay it, you could become a character actor for Asa Clark or something.
I don't know if you've ever seen Asa Clark's picture. I don't know that any of us can do Asa justice there.
Awesome. Legislative advocacy. So first, just an update, 4 board members will be attending the WASB conference. Larry, who's also going to attend as a delegate, Stacy, Matt, and myself are all registered to attend. It is a great event. Whether you can attend one day or the entire conference, I always learn a lot from those presentations. So it's not too late to register, and if anyone else wants to help with that presentation on AI, please do let Tammy know. Next, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Resolution Review and Discussion. That has to do with the 2025 Delegate Assembly, and Larry, I'm gonna let you to speak to that a little bit.
Okay. So yes, I've done the delegate assembly last year for the Pewaukee School District. But what happens is this is a document that's created for the Wisconsin Association of School Board. It's kind of becomes their direction-setting document in terms of any legislative activity that they undertake. And so some of the things have been around for a long time, like local control is like one of their major standing resolutions that they always want to maintain and support. Plus things like funding, in terms of funding as it relates to any things that are mandated coming through from the state legislature, they're advocating for making sure that funding is provided along with that. So in the attached document that was included tonight, those are the resolutions that were brought forward. So school districts can bring this forward. Sometimes the WASB staff, if there's things that need to be cleaned up, language changed or modified, those kinds of things are brought forward. They are then subsequently reviewed by a policy and resolutions review committee, and they finalized their work, I believe, like on November 8th or 9th. They were meeting in Stevens Point to do that. And so the document that we have in front of us is really the culmination of that work. So it goes through a review by this review committee, a policy and resolutions committee. They bring it forward, and then, like I say, the document that we have in front of us is what's going to be on the agenda for that delegate assembly, and it's, I think, on 1:30 p.m. at the WSB convention that afternoon. And so the school districts that are there in attendance will be able to vote yea or nay in terms of making the change or modification to the resolution, or adding new ones, if you will. And they usually try to stick to that, other than a couple times where it gets a little bit messy. It can be where people trying to amend things during the meeting, or change things, cancel things, and it goes through all of the Robert's Rules of Order in terms of the votes that are taken as a result of that. And I think it was last year, there was one person who brought forward a resolution that had not been published, had not been out there, and guess what? It got voted down totally, so it never even made it to the group. But that's the role that I will play. And so what if you have any thoughts, any ideas? I can't remember exactly the number, it's like 9 or 10. It's not a huge number, but if there's any concerns that you have, or if you want me to vote in any particular way on those resolutions, that would be helpful if you have any thoughts on that. The Blue Ribbon Commission, obviously supporting that, was one of those that was been out there for quite a while. What was his name? Kitchens from the Door County area. Luther Olson was still involved in the Senate at that point in time. So, I mean, those are the people that led that effort, and it was a combined effort. And we actually, I think, did a presentation at one of their Blue Ribbon Commission hearings that was out there. So it's something that's been around for a long time, so they're saying they support it. The pathways to licensure for paraprofessionals, and again, this is something that there might be a little bit of controversy regarding it, depending upon where you stand to the degree of teacher licensing, but I believe that it makes sense, and it was specifically targeted. It only works if you're in a specific school district, so it doesn't mean like it's universal. If you're working in the Elmbrook School District, then you could be potentially a candidate for this, but it doesn't apply as if you wanted to go somewhere else. It's not going to work for you, right? If that's my understanding of how that's supposed to work, so.
Yeah, that was the approach to that particular, the drafted legislation, right? Yeah.
I do want to encourage you, I did print all of these out and read through them. There are some very interesting resolutions in here. There's one that talks about consistent standards across Wisconsin schools as it relates to public versus private.
Yes.
Education, I think that is a very interesting resolution. Yeah, there's just some really interesting things in here, so I would really encourage you, if you haven't yet, to just really go in and read these resolutions, and if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to Larry, because he's going to be our voice at that delegation that day.
And the number 8 one, like accountability and school report card standards, things like that as well, how they get, again, consistency there, and educational objectives, and focusing in on that, which is, I think, again, makes sense, that it's ensuring college, career, and workforce readiness, so supporting the development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills. So just things that I think are language changes possibly. And I think that probably covers most of it, so.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you for your willingness to be a delegate for us this year. Tammy, do we have any comments from citizens?
There are no comments from citizens.
Thank you. Well, then, with that, I'll need a motion to take us into closed session.
I move to go into closed session in accordance with 19 State Statute 19.85, 1, parentheses 1 in parentheses C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. So it's a mid-year superintendent evaluation.
Oh, second. Sorry. I was reading something. I'm very sorry.
No, thank you. Mike, do I do a roll call on this one?
Yes, for
Yeah,
closed
roll
session,
call.
you do a roll call.
Stacy,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Mary,
No.
Matt,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
myself, yes. So it does pass, and at this time, we will go into closed session.
And for Jordan and Tammy, I believe that the board will adjourn in closed, so they won't be returning.